I'm excited to try something new. This is going to be a highlights style video. Basically, I'm going to make a short video highlighting a module, or at least specifically a part of a module that I think does a really good job of what it's supposed to do. I think most adventures, most modules for role-playing games have something really good in them, even if the adventure or the module as a whole isn't great. And so that's what these videos are going to be doing, is they're going to highlight the great parts of maybe an otherwise okay or mediocre or good module to just kind of bring those things to the surface. Today's highlight video is about AC1, the Shady Dragon Inn by Carl Smith. This is one of my favorite supplements for Dungeons & Dragons basically ever. I did do a video about this before. You can check it out right here. Basically, this is a list of NPCs that a Dungeon Master can use based on the class. It gives some basic stats, a little bit of background, and a little bit about the actual NPC itself. Now I'm going to go over my 4 favorite NPCs for fighters, magic users, clerics, and thieves. Maybe in another video I'll follow up with elves, dwarves, and halflings, but this is just my 4 favorite NPCs for those classes: fighters, magic users, clerics, and thieves. So my favorite fighter in this whole book is Boris Bonesnapper. He's found on page 3, strength 16, intelligence 9, wisdom 15, constitution 11, dexterity 13, and charisma 10. Coming in at level 3, has 21 health. Basically, my favorite thing about Boris is his last name, Bonesnapper. The text says that Boris got his name when fighting a desert tribesman for a share of booty taken on a raid. He broke both the man's arms and then told the man, "Take what you want." That is, in my opinion, kind of badass, right? And so it's a wonderful background story. That's the type of person you may want fighting with your group, but also maybe you don't want this type of person claiming your treasure. I also think that Boris Bonesnapper reminds us of something important when it comes to names, and that nicknames can be awesome because so often PCs, player characters, are doing great things within the story, and nicknames are a great way of rewarding player characters in the game in a role-playing way without having to give out experience or magic items or things like that. Boris Bonesnapper, my favorite fighter in the group. Next, my favorite magic user is Horatius the Woad, found on page 8. Horatius has strength 8, intelligence 9, wisdom 4, which is crazy, constitution 12, dexterity 7, and charisma 15. This guy does not have good stats, which I just think is the funniest thing. 9 intelligence for a magic user. Anyways, I had to look up what a woad is, by the way. A woad in medieval or Arthurian times is what Pictish people may have been called, based on the dye used maybe to paint their faces or their bodies going into battle. That's at least what Google told me, so correct me if I'm wrong. It says Horatius dresses in simple blue bordered white robe. He's from a mountain tribe. There we go. And he has tribal tattoos that cover his body. He carries, I'm skipping a little bit, he carries staff-like walking stick that is not magical, and he will accompany anyone who does not desecrate a temple. So many NPCs, and I think so many PCs, kind of start role-playing at a part where maybe they like this type of person or being they'll see in the game, or dislike this type. Often it's things like, I hate orcs, or I hate goblins, or I hate thieves, things like that. Horatius the Woad, despite having horrible stats and an awesome nickname, the Woad, he dislikes anybody who would or who does not desecrate a temple. That's a very specific thing, and I think that tells us a lot about Horatius himself, because why would that be a differentiator unless you have some personal experience with temples and maybe trying to stop people from desecrating them? So that's why I like Horatius, besides, of course, the name, the Woad. I think that's so funny. But it's because of that little detail at the end, I think, that gives us a lot of information about Horatius that we can use when using him as an NPC. Now, I do use another magic user often in my games, and this is Apris the Wondrous. I have a running reoccurring character in the games that I run whose name is Apris the Wondrous, because I think that is the best name I've found in this book, maybe besides the one I'm about, or the one I just talked about, Horatius the Woad. Apris in my games, I didn't use the inspiration from this book, but Apris is young enthusiastic, and she loves tips. And so my player characters have a love-hate relationship with her because she's always very helpful. She's always very enthusiastic to learn from them or do something for them. But she always just kind of hangs out after completing a task, her hand out, stretched, palm up, waiting for a tip for whatever she has just done for the players. For clerics, my favorite cleric in this book is Catharos the Pure, found on page 12. Catharos the Pure has 6 strength, 11 intelligence, 14 wisdom, 14 constitution, 8 dexterity, and 10 charisma. The best part about Catharos is that Catharos gives all magic items except for rings to his sect. I think that's absolutely wonderful detail. There's a running theme with clerics and tithing or giving, to charity and things like that. I think the fact that Catharos will give magic items as many as he can to his sect except for rings, and I imagine Catharos walking around and has like a ring on each finger, right? He's got 10 rings on, maybe 2 of them are magical or something like that. I think that's such a cool detail that I want to use Catharos in my game. There is a funny detail, though, for Catharos, because Catharos, it says right there, gives all magic items except rings to his sect, but he also carries a mace +1. So I'm not really sure where that, what the decision making is there. I just thought that was a funny detail. Finally, for thieves, my favorite thief in this entire book is Gwyn Cutpurse on page 16. My favorite thing about Gwyn, well, let's do her stats first. She has 13 strength, 7 intelligence, 14 wisdom, 11 constitution, 17 dexterity, and 14 charisma. My favorite thing about Gwyn Cutpurse is at the end of her little descriptor. It says she wears her hair in bangs to hide a T-shaped scar in the center of the forehead. This scar is from branding iron once used to mark convicted thieves. And of course, because of that, Gwyn hates jailers. And I think that's another great detail. Imagine a Cutpurse being hired by the group. She's got these bangs, and then all of a sudden, they're in a tavern, people are dancing, her bangs get thrust aside, the T, the branded thief mark, is there on her forehead, and all of a sudden the PCs have to figure out what to do as the innkeep and all of the patrons descend upon the party and have some very, very serious and menacing questions about why they are cavorting with a known and branded thief. Gwyn Cutpurse, that T on her forehead tells us a little bit about her background, and I think that gives enough of a hook to make her my favorite thief in the Shady Dragon Inn. So those are my favorite 4 fighter, my favorite magic user, favorite cleric, and favorite thief in the Shady Dragon Inn. Let me know what your favorites are. And let me know if you'd like to hear the second part of this, my favorite dwarf, my favorite elf, my favorite halfling, and there are some branded, trademarked characters at the end that I have a few thoughts of as well. So I hope you enjoyed the highlight here for the Shady Dragon Inn. Again, it's one of my favorite accessories. If you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend you do. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.